it's Skiesti, and today we're going to be doing a VoD review of Zoe. In the match that was sent to me, their current SR was 2603 with a peak of 2733. They play with all of their settings off, and their GA sends and beam sends at 100 each. A couple of things that they mentioned when they sent this to me is that they were focusing on their death stat, so dying less, and trying to get their damage boost up. So looking at the composition right now, you've got Bastion Genji, so you're probably going to be defaulting to your Bastion. You've got Ana, so she'll be taking the brunt of the healing. At the beginning of a game, if you're defending, make sure to play up for initial damage boost into their spawn, for example, damage boosting Bride Fire Strike for ally ult charge. When defending in this situation, try to play on the left side for cover. You'll be able to assist your Bastion as well as your tanks in the choke from that spot. Instead of damage boosting or healing your Ryan who isn't in danger and is full health, damage boost your Zarya. It feels like you don't trust your Ana. She's capable to handle healing the tanks. When your tanks push up, you can damage boost Zarya, and when they're playing choke, you can be with the Bastion or Genji unless your tanks take a substantial amount of damage that Ana won't be able to sustain. Watch healing full health targets, switch to damage boost instead. This is something that occurs frequently, so I probably won't call it out every time, but it's something to keep in mind. You don't need to heal small bits of damage, your Ana can do that. This part here is just really awkward, honestly. Like, your point of view feels very cut off and small, so you can't see a lot of your team or the enemy team. The positioning is a bit off here, and so are the beam disconnects. It's really hard to take this part apart just because it is just awkward. This entire fight here should have probably been a reset. You're down both of your DPS and you aren't able to res either. Your team uses ults, a lot of them, and loses the fight. Your new default here becomes McCree. Good holding the high ground here, pocketing him. Standing out in the open instead of playing walls and corners is something that you should watch for. Watch your positioning too, because right now you're playing too close to your team and in front of the doorway that the enemy is going to come in through. Try not to be on point a lot yourself. Try to let your team contest instead. When you flew down, you could have played the corner near the stairs on the left side. Again, when you're in Valk, you don't need to be contesting so much when your teammates already are. Good damage boosting the blade, but watch for your beam disconnects. Watch for healing allies that are already full health. Unless they take damage, your damage boost can stay on. Or unless they're in danger of taking damage as well. Try not to play in front of open spaces that the enemy has a sight line on. You can pocket from around corners and walls where you're safe. It's good to help your Ryan be kept up here since it wasn't enough healing with just the Ana. Once he stops being in immediate danger though, you should switch over to your Genji. When you res your Ryan, you just kind of leave him there by himself. It would have been good to help him out a little bit more. Unfortunate fall here, but you should have GA'd to your Cree when he came into line of sight to get back up on the high ground to your team, because you being on point here ends up wasting resources that you could have contributed to them.
Your support has arrived. Let me get you patched up.
You have Valk when the enemy team pushes in. You probably would have wanted to use it earlier, right before the enemy walks onto point. Your Genji goes in too far, so it's a bit hard to commit with him during his blade. Perhaps assisting on point would have provided more value here. A bit of awkward positioning. Try not to play on point here. Try to play more near the walls and away from the enemy. You shouldn't be that close to their brig, and walking forward during this time is unnecessary. Ideally, you would have been playing here for Valk. Res is dangerous, but you get away with it since they're distracted by the tracer on point. After you res, don't GA to the solo on point. Your Rein has enough time to contest the point so that you don't have to. Pocketing him after he's rezzed will also probably give you Valk and potentially keep him alive longer, and then you'd Valk to stall for your team.
Score 0-2. Switching sides. 3, 2, 1. Attackers in.
Ideally, you'd want to follow your Genji to the high ground. If you lose line of sight on him, you can super jump off of an ally to reach him. You don't get value here being with your BAP and Zarya, so it's really better to pocket your Genji. Rather than going through the TP, you could stay main with Genji while your team goes through, allow BAP to heal your team on points, or alternatively, fly to a teammate on point after they take TP if you're in reach. Reminder here, you don't have to heal every bit of damage, especially when you have a BAP. Your Genji was being really aggressive, and if you can safely follow him, that probably would have been best. Watch healing full health targets. Playing too close to your team here, you should be playing up on the high ground with your BAP if you can reach, or near the main entrance. Move too far into line of sight of the high noon. You had a great position behind the pillar, but went too far and ended up getting caught out. A lot of time when you're pocketing someone, you'll swap to healing for a few seconds when they're not taking any damage and also not in danger of taking damage. Try to stick to damage boosting during those times instead of swapping if they're not in danger.
Let's get you back out there. Damage boost engaged.
Good res outside of the window. You don't have to GA closer to the point before you pop Valk. You can pop Valk from the entrance and should be able to reach your team from there. It's safer for you that way. And it might have even benefited from Valking immediately after rezzing Genji to assist on the point earlier. Good staying off point and off to the side while you're Valking. Genji takes a lot of damage when he blades. Since they don't have a defensive ult, I would prioritize keeping him alive over damage boosting. Very, very, very dangerous res in front of enemy BAP window. Flying onto the point here is also questionable if you're flying into the enemy team while window is up. Res Genji into a dangerous spot and don't have the means to assist him to safety, so the res that you normally shouldn't have been able to get in the first place ends up being a waste. It's good to super jump to get above the fight, but try not to get too close to the enemy team. Don't put yourself in danger when it's unnecessary. You can play max beam range away and be safe as well. Watch for the trap on point. When you're up in the air, instead of GAing toward it, you could GA toward the bridge near the entrance and be pretty safe. The rest could have been secured still if you moved closer to the right and more away from the doorway. This is in case the enemy decided to pressure the choke at all. You're too close to the team again, let them walk through first. When you're balking, you don't need to be in the door frame with your team. You can be outside of it and still utilize your chain beam. You don't need to be going ahead of your team as well after here. You can wait for them to move forward first and follow after. During this fight for point, press down the outskirts or edge of the point instead of directly on the point. Because the enemy team will be coming back from their spawn doors, you should position either to the left, to the right near the mini, or toward the entrance where the lamps are and play around those. Positioning up top is also good here. It's hard for the enemy to reach you here while you're able to reach your team and assist nicely. But with that said, you probably don't need to go down and back up as much as you do. If you're in range and it's safe, then you can stay there.
Score 2-2. 3, 2, 1. Attackers incoming.
You should be with your Echo, not with your team on the lower right side. Let your BAP worry about your team in main unless your tanks lose a lot of HP. Try to pocket your Echo more. Your Sigma is a lost cause here. I think he would have died either way, but if you were with your Echo, you probably could have saved her. Good getting the touch and attempting to stall it out. This fight in general, though, is a bit messy, but watch your general positioning. So, two general things that I noticed a lot is that you GA close to your team quite a bit when it's not necessary. You pay a bit too much attention to your tanks when your Ana or main healer is live. And you could definitely be pushing your damage boosts more. Alright, that is it for me. This was, again, Zoe's VoD review, and yeah, I will see you guys probably in another 2 weeks for another VoD review. Fingers crossed. Have a good one, and thanks for watching.